Welcome to this week's Checkpoint. My name is Michael Ybarra from Faith Mountain Pentecostal Church in Lakeside, California. Checkpoints are crafted to give you timely encouragement and focus as you navigate your journey. Think of them as quick stops to refresh and realign before continuing forward. In 2 Corinthians chapter 12, the Apostle Paul starts the chapter by mentioning a powerful vision of being caught up to the third heaven. And beginning in verse number 7, the Bible says, "And lest I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelations, there was given to me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure. For this thing I besought the Lord thrice, that it might depart from me. And he said unto me, My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness." We all face seasons of weakness, whether it's physical exhaustion or emotional pain or spiritual struggles or whatever it may be. We've all faced seasons, and we will again face seasons of weakness. Or maybe there are some listeners right now facing a season of weakness. And in those moments, it's natural to worry, to fret, and to wonder why God allows us to feel so vulnerable in these moments. But it's in these very moments that God reveals a powerful truth to us through his word in 2 Corinthians chapter 12. And that truth is that his strength is made perfect in our weakness. And when we consider the example of the Apostle Paul here in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, Paul described a thorn in the flesh, and that what seemed to be a persistent struggle or affliction that caused him great difficulty. Though we don't know exactly what it was, we do know that Paul prayed 3 times for God to remove it. And each time God's answer was the same, and that was, "My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness." And initially, or at first, this may not seem like the response that the Apostle Paul was hoping for or looking for. But in time, he came to understand something incredible, that thorn wasn't a sign of God's absence, but rather an opportunity for God's power to shine. And in Paul's weakness, he was forced to stop relying on his own strength, and instead, he was forced to lean completely on God. And in doing so, the Apostle Paul experienced God's grace and what the Bible calls his perfect strength in a way that he would never have been able to experience otherwise. And the point today is that this same principle applies to us when we feel weak, when we feel unable to do whatever it is we need to do, when we're physically weak, spiritually weak, mentally weak, when we're sick, when we don't have control of the situation. It strips away our idea of self-sufficiency and reminds us that we need God without a shadow of a doubt. And in those moments of brokenness, when we have nothing left to give, when we've tried our all and we're all out, we've exhausted our own resources, that's when God fills the gap. He steps in, and he doesn't just sustain us, but he lets his glory be on display in us and through us, and in that situation and through that situation, whatever it may be that we're facing. And the Apostle Paul didn't just tolerate his weakness, he embraced it. And he went on to say in verse number 9, "Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me." And if you ask why, maybe it's because he realized that his weakness created the perfect backdrop for God's strength to be displayed, the perfect canvas for God to to show forth his glory, his perfect strength, and do things that only he is capable of doing. So if you're in a season today of weakness, even though we're in the holiday season, it really doesn't matter. The devil's going to come knocking on the door no matter what season of life it is or what season of the year it is. But if you're in a season of weakness right now, or if you find yourself in a season of weakness in the near future, don't despair, don't worry. Don't let concerns or frustrations take over, but instead recognize that is an opportunity to experience the fullness of God's grace and power in your life. Instead, recognize it as an opportunity to experience that, because that's exactly what it is. What a beautiful, what a rare opportunity we get to experience God's perfect strength. And the only time we are able to experience that, as the Bible describes it, is when we are in a state of weakness. So I want to encourage you today, lean not unto thine own understanding, as the Bible says. Trust the Lord with all your heart. Cast your cares upon him. He is more than able. He is sufficient. He is more than enough. Your weakness, the situation you're in, doesn't scare God. It doesn't make him nervous. He's the one who in the beginning said, "Let there be light," and there was light. There's nothing too hard for him, the creator of all heaven and earth. So be encouraged today. If you're weak, or if you find yourself in a weak place in the near future, just remember, the Bible says that his strength is made perfect in your weakness. So God bless you. Keep your head up. Keep on moving forward. You can complete the journey. This living for God lifestyle is for you. You are victorious in Jesus. Don't you worry about a thing, because God's got your back. And stay tuned for your next checkpoint.